is a good 15, 20 feet tall. Easy.
They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. A gunman opened fire, a plane went down, a crowd turned to chaos.
Calling our manager going, our plane crashed, like Travis is on fire, like he's cursing, he's yelling.
But against all odds, they made it out alive. While the world watched in horror, these famous names became something else. Survivors. This is famous people who survived infamous events.
She's like here now, and she's going to survive. And of course, that's what I'm going to continue to do. So no, I never believed she would be found.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, was on her way to an 8:45 a.m. meeting at the New York headquarters of her charity, Chances for Children. The office was located high in one of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. Ferguson's morning had started like any other, but a small delay, just a few minutes, would end up saving her life. At 8:47 a.m., her car pulled up outside the towers, just seconds after American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower. The impact tore through the building at the very level where her office sat. Had she been on time, she and her team likely wouldn't have survived. Instead, her staff, waiting in the lobby to greet her, escaped the worst. Ferguson immediately ushered them into her car and drove them away from the chaos erupting behind them. In the aftermath, she spoke of the tragedy with quiet disbelief, knowing how close she'd come to being among the victims. A twist of timing, mere seconds, had spared the Duchess of York from one of history's darkest days.
And everywhere I go, I am met with really sincere condolences and emotions as though it had happened to them directly.
On November 13th, 2015, Paris was rocked by a night of terror. Coordinated ISIS attacks struck the city in 6 locations, from the Stade de France, where 3 bombs exploded, to busy cafes and restaurants across the capital. But the deadliest scene unfolded at the Bataclan, a 1,500-seat concert hall where every ticket had been sold for a show by the American rock band Eagles of Death Metal. Frontman Jesse Hughes was midway through the performance when 3 gunmen burst into the venue and began firing into the crowd. Screams replaced music as chaos erupted. Hughes and his bandmates fled backstage, searching for any escape. In the narrow hallway, he came face to face with an armed man who raised his weapon.
Everyone that was lost. And I don't think I would have gotten through it if I wasn't here. I really don't think so. I am eternally indebted to the people of France.
I thought I was dead. I just waited for the shots to hit me, Hughes later said. But the trigger never pulled, and somehow he made it out alive. 89 fans and crew members were killed inside the Bataclan that night, including the band's merchandise manager, Nick Alexander. In all, 130 lives were lost across Paris. Hughes survived, but the echoes of that night would haunt both him and the music world forever.
Her father was in the Air Force, and actually they only got over there about 2 months before I left. I was seeing her, and she was at the airport when I left.
Before he was the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley was just a baby in Tupelo, Mississippi, a town that nearly vanished overnight. On April 5, 1936, one of the deadliest tornadoes in American history tore through Tupelo, flattening entire neighborhoods and obliterating hundreds of homes. Some were described as completely swept away. Winds reaching more than 200 miles per hour ripped houses from their foundations, twisted trees into splinters, and left more than 200 people dead. It was an F5 monster, part of a larger storm system that ravaged communities across the South over 2 terrifying days. In the middle of that chaos was the Presley family. Elvis was just 15 months old when the storm hit, and his parents, Vernon and Gladys, sought shelter in a sturdier home owned by a relative. While the tornado destroyed everything in its path, their refuge miraculously stood untouched. Just a few doors away, lives were lost. In the aftermath, many in Tupelo said fate had spared the child for a reason. that the baby who survived the city's darkest night was meant to leave his mark. Decades later, Elvis Presley would fulfill that destiny.
And then before you knew it, the lights went out, and it was all over.
On February 20th, 2003, Jack Russell, frontman of the 80s rock band Great White, stepped on stage at the Station nightclub in West Warwick, Rhode Island, ready to play for a packed crowd of more than 400 fans. It was meant to be another stop on a small venue tour, a nostalgic night of hard rock and memories. But within seconds of the first song, it turned into one of the deadliest concert tragedies in U.S. history. When the band's tour manager set off pyrotechnics behind the stage, despite the club's strict ban on them, sparks ignited the foam soundproofing on the walls. Flames shot up instantly. Russell tried to douse the fire with cups of water, but the blaze spread too fast. He and his band escaped through a stage door, but chaos consumed the club behind them. Many exits were blocked or barricaded, forcing concert-goers to fight toward a single door. Within minutes, the entire building was engulfed. 100 people lost their lives that night.
You know, I wish that was in my everyday job to go around, look at the ceilings and check the foam, and I would have found out that that foam was illegal and I would have had to tear them down and I would have closed the club. But that was...
Russell, haunted by the event, later said, "It was just a horrible, horrible tragedy, and I wish I could go back and cancel that show."
All of that day rushes back to me, and of course, because I was at Ground Zero and I was in the concourse level.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Chef Michael Lomonaco, the culinary director of Windows on the World, arrived at the World Trade Center earlier than usual. His restaurant, perched on the 106th and 107th floors of the North Tower, was already beginning to fill with staff preparing for the day's service. But fate intervened when Lomonaco decided to stop by the optometrist in the WTC shopping concourse to fix a broken pair of glasses. At 8:46 a.m., as he waited, a thunderous crash shook the building. "I just thought, could that be the subway?" he later said. It wasn't. American Airlines Flight 11 had slammed into the North Tower, directly into the floors where Windows on the World stood. Power failed, alarms blared, and smoke filled the air. Lomonaco quickly joined the evacuation, only realizing the full horror once he stepped outside and saw debris raining from above. He turned back, desperate to reach his team, but before he could, he looked up and saw the second plane strike. In that instant, he knew there was no going back. His decision to fix his glasses, a simple, everyday errand, had saved his life.
You know, in the front area of the plane, we go down to swoop back up and we hit an embankment. And I was honestly just waiting for lights out. I was just waiting for the next impact.
In September 2008, Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker boarded a small Learjet after performing a free show in South Carolina with DJ AM, electronic musician Adam Goldstein. The two had just wrapped a set as TRVS DJ AM when their plane attempted to take off from Columbia Metropolitan Airport. Moments after liftoff, sparks were seen by the control tower. The jet overran the runway, hit an embankment, and burst into flames as it tore across a nearby highway. 4 people, Barker's close friends and assistants Charles Still and Chris Baker, along with pilots Sarah Lemon and James Bland, were killed instantly. Barker and Goldstein were the only survivors. Barker managed to escape through an emergency exit, but in doing so, his body was drenched in jet fuel.
Like, Travis is on fire, like he's cursing, he's yelling, and then as I'm running, because the embankment was a highway, so someone in a car, like people are screaming and they say,
"I jumped right into the jet, which is full of fuel. My whole body lit up," he later recalled. 2/3 of his body had been burned, leaving him in critical condition. At the Joseph M. Still Burn Center in Augusta, Georgia, he underwent 26 surgeries and months of skin grafts and therapy before he could walk again. The crash changed everything, but surviving it gave him a new reason to live louder than ever.
children's home.
Children's home? Well, how perfectly sweet. Why, that explains everything.
Betsy Drake's life often felt like a movie, full of glamour, drama, and narrow escapes. A talented London-born stage actress, she was on her way to America aboard the Queen Mary in 1947 when fate and Cary Grant intervened. The Hollywood icon pursued her relentlessly, and soon the two were married, co-starring in romantic comedies like Every Girl Should Be Married and Room for One More. But by the mid-1950s, their marriage was fraying, and Drake's life took a far more perilous turn than any film plot could offer. In July 1956, she booked passage home from Europe on the Italian luxury liner Andrea Doria. Near the end of the voyage, as the ship approached Nantucket through thick fog, disaster struck. The Swedish liner Stockholm emerged from the mist and rammed directly into the Andrea Doria, ripping open its hull. Drake, alone in her cabin and reading, felt the impact and instantly understood the danger. She threw on a life jacket, climbed to the upper deck, and waited calmly as chaos erupted around her. Hours later, rescue ships arrived, plucking survivors from the listing vessel. Betsy Drake was among them, one of 1,660 saved before the ship sank beneath the Atlantic waves.
To lie. You feel that you have to lie so that you're not cast out, so that your parents don't cast you out. And the things that you learn to do.
What became known as the Boxing Day tsunami began just before 8 a.m. on December 26, 2004, when one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded, hitting 9.1 on the Richter scale, erupted below the Indian Ocean. That set off violent tidal waves, which destructively and brutally landed on the coastal shores of multiple nations over the next few hours, moving as fast as 500 miles per hour. Banda Aceh, a city on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, was buried and suffered the deaths of 100,000 people. In Thailand, 5,400 people died. Resorts and tourist spots throughout Southeast Asia bore the devastation, including Arugam Bay in Sri Lanka. That's where Berkus and his partner, photographic artist Fernando Bengoechea, were vacationing. Bengoechea is believed to have been swept out to sea and drowned, as his body never surfaced, which was the ultimate fate of many of the victims of the tsunami.
And she said, I don't want to be the only survivor. And I said to her at that time, I don't either. This was by far the most horrific thing that I have ever seen in my life.
Berkus suffered only superficial injuries and numerous wounds. I had scars. I have scars still, not extensive, he told people. But if you know, you know. They faced the unthinkable and lived to tell the tale. From near-death crashes to mass tragedies, these moments changed them forever. Fame may fade, but the will to survive never does. Which story shocked you the most, and which one inspired you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of resilience and fate. Thank you for watching.